Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk.
Councilor Comito.
Present.
Councilor Burke.
Told I have to talk loudly.
Present.
Councilor Janik.
Present.
Councilor Edwards.
Present.
Councilor Fall.
Present.
Councilor Perry.
Present.
Councilor DiMederos is absent.
All right. Can you hear us all right on the recording?
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So first order of business, we have the proclamation we spoke about at the last meeting. Would you like me to read through this, Mr. Solicitor? Yes. All right. All right. So this is a proclamation regarding EMS Week to designate the week of May 18th to the 24th, which just passed, 2025 as EMS Medical Services Week, EMS Week. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services fills healthcare gaps by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value of the accomplishments of the emergency medical service providers by designating the Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, John Edwards, Town Council President in the town of Tiverton, Rhode Island, recognized of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18th to the 24th, 2025 as Emergency Medical Services Week. The 51st anniversary of EMS Week theme is EMS Week, We Care for Everyone. I encourage the community to observe this week, which has just passed, with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities in honor of the EMS profession and the essential services it provides. Thank you. All right, next item, consent agenda. As listed, would any councilors like to remove any items on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
So moved. Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? None? Okay. Next up, we have a public presentation from Meghan Hyland, Hague, Sahady, to talk about the audit.
Hi.
Welcome. We all have the audit packages too.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Meghan Hyland, certified public accountant, here on behalf of Hague, Sahady and Co. To present the 2024 financial statements for the town. So our engagement included three components: the audit of the town's basic financial statements, the federally required single audit for compliance with major federal grant programs, and the UCOA report required by RIDE. All three were completed successfully with no findings or exceptions noted. There are two audit reports included in the annual financial report: the independent auditor's report and the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance. The town received unmodified opinions on both reports, which is the highest level of assurance we can provide, indicating that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position and operations of the town as of June 30, 2024, with no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control. No deficiencies in internal control were identified and no compliance issues. Page 10 is the management's discussion and analysis, which talks about an overview of the government-wide financial statements, the fund financial statements, and the notes to the financial statements. The basic financial statements begin with the government-wide financials, which show the town's financial position as a whole. The fund financial statements report on each major fund, the non-major governmental funds, the enterprise funds, and the fiduciary funds. So your major funds include your general fund, the landfill fund, gaming, revenue, ARPA this year, and non-major governmental funds include all of the special revenue funds for grants, mostly school grants, and capital projects funds that are not major. The enterprise funds include the school lunch fund, school lunch, and there's one more on the school side. Cafeteria fund, school lunch, early risers, and the land acquisition fund. Your fiduciary funds include your employee benefit trust funds and private purpose funds. An overview and description of these are outlined on pages 10 and 11 in the management discussion and analysis, if you'd like to read further on how those are set up. In the financials for those are presented on page 23.
Do you want to keep rolling, or do you want to take questions? What works for you?
I can take questions and then move on if you'd rather do that.
Council, have any questions? By all means. Just try to give you a little break there, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to the government-wide financial statements, which are presented on page 19. They include both governmental and business type activities. Your business type activities are the proprietary or the enterprise funds. Governmental activities are the major funds and the non-major governmental funds. Oh, I'm sorry, before I missed the school unrestricted fund is also a major fund. Sorry. At the government-wide level, the town reported a total net position of approximately $23 million. This represents an increase of about $6.7 million compared to the prior year, which was primarily driven by capital investment, strong revenue performance, and reductions in long-term liabilities.
Quick question for you. So page 19, deferred outflows of resources, that's what we're anticipating we have to pay out on both the OPEB and the pension at some point in the future?
Yes, and those can change. They're based on, also that based on actuarial assumptions.
Which
So
change?
yeah, they change from year to year. So it depends on the makeup of the people, the members, and
How
your-
far forward-looking is that? Are those two items?
Oh, pretty far.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe. Yeah, they have an anticipated life expectancy for all the members, and I think the investment returns. I'd have to look at the actuarial report, but I know we present about like 5 years of that, maybe
Okay.
10. But there might be more information on how that, like what makes that up in the actuarial reports. And I believe those are available online.
And the only reason I ask is because if you look at deferred outflows and OPEB, we've only got about $1 million in there. It's 4.8 million that we're deferring, but then on the inflows, we're assuming the same period, we're gonna take in 5.3, so in theory, we should be okay.
Yeah, there was, the investment, the performance was pretty good.
Yeah,
So if you have a year that it's not that good, it might really
right now.
fluctuate and change the assumptions that the actuary uses in his calculations. Or her.
I have a question back on page 14,
Yes.
under expenses, early rises, I thought parents paid for that. Why is it an expense?
So they take in the revenues, the payments from the parents,
Yeah.
and then, so the revenue comes in and they report the expenditures out, or the expenses out of the fund. Yeah, and so the revenues for that, you might wanna go to,
it was like 316,000 or something, right? On that one, I just saw it like 2 seconds ago.
The income?
Yeah.
the operating revenues that was about $89,000. The 316, I think, you're thinking of the cafeteria fund.
Okay, maybe I was looking at that, my
Yeah.
apologies.
So, page 28 will
Page
present.
28?
Page 28 presents early risers in its own column.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I was looking at the cafeteria.
I was way ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's hard to see in the government why it's mixed in.
So they took in 88 plus 57 minus 70, net position 75. Before any additional expenses.
Correct.
Oh, it's dollars rolling over?
Their
Okay.
beginning net position was 56, so.
But bear in mind, this is looking back at the end of 2024, so we'll find out more about the current position of the schools next year.
Yeah, well, pretty soon. Any other questions?
Any additional questions from the council? Do you have more you want to go through? Do you have more you want to go through? I mean, the gist of what I heard you say is basically like favorable opinions across all 3 categories,
Yeah. Yeah.
or the highest opinion you can possibly offer across all 3 categories.
Um, Correct, yeah, I just talked about the single audit report at the end, which I already mentioned. There were no findings. We also issued the UCOA report, which is the agreed upon procedure engagement. to just test the compliance with the UCOA compliance supplement, and there were no findings, no issues. The major federal program we tested this year was SPED, and no issues there. And I also had some information in here about the upcoming GASB pronouncements. For 2025, there's no real significant changes to reporting. There's a slight change to how compensated absences is calculated, and we're currently going through a bunch of our continuing professional education hours to review this. So more to come on that, and of course I'll be discussing that with finance staff, and we'll work with them to make sure that, you know, all the data is there and we can, you know, start calculating those numbers ahead of time so that they're ready to go. But it's not, you know, heavy lifting or anything, not a significant change. 2026, there's a possibility of some changes when it comes to disclosures and presentation of proprietary fund operating and non-operating expenses. But from what I understand right now, it's just recategorizing some of the items to make it a little bit more clear and easier for the user to understand what is really going on. And I'll be discussing that with police as well.
So just as of the end of 2024, all things good.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
2025 will be fun for you.
Yeah, and I have to say thank you to all of the finance staff. They were very responsive and super helpful, and made everything kind of move along efficiently. So, looks like you guys got a good team.
All right, well, if there's no other questions, thank you very much for taking the time this evening.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much.
All right, do we have public comments on this?
None.
All right, nice and easy. All right, next up is the council sitting as the Board of Licensing, discussion and possible votes on all subject, or discussion and possible votes, which will be subject to meeting all legal requirements. First up, we have Tim Pavao, request approval of special event license for Mass Wagens' second annual car show on Sunday, July 20th, 2025, from 11 to 4, July 27th rain date at 300 Industrial Way. Mr. Pavao, welcome. So, do you have any questions from the council on this application?
One,
Counselor?
has advertisement started on this project?
I've been told to wait till approval.
I thought I saw something on your website.
Yes, that
Your
was,
Facebook page. For
so
me.
that was, so I didn't know that I couldn't advertise. So when I did find out, I completely stopped.
Okay.
So the last couple weeks, nothing's been
Okay.
posted about it.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
This
Counselor?
this is your second time you've done this, so everything's still the same, because it's indoors, correct?
No, so it's gonna be outdoors. My first one I had in Westport, Massachusetts.
Outdoors?
Correct.
Okay, I thought you would inform me before. Okay.
No,
So
it was a different,
it was a different one.
it looks completely different than the other guy.
All right, any further questions from the council?
Yeah, I'm just
Counselor?
confused. It seems like, so, I guess I gotta ask Mike this question. So, this just seems like the second time that we've had an event or an event going down there. We ask about, I'm just trying to understand about advertising. Like, they can't advertise before the event starts?
Well, if we don't approve it. That's my position,
Oh, okay.
is if the event hasn't come before us to be approved, there should be no advertisement done. I'm also concerned, I thought this was saying this was the second time here. I don't think we've ever approved an outdoor event, but I could be wrong. I'm looking through the solicitor.
I don't remember, I know the car show was approved at one point in the past, but I don't remember if it was.
That one was indoor, yeah.
I do.
There was
recall-
a meet and greet or something that I think that occurred, that was part of the litigation.
So,
I do recall there being an outdoor one though, with vehicles.
I mean, a question for the solicitor, Mike, I mean, so if somebody wants to advertise before it's approved, I mean, it doesn't make it doesn't really affect our decision whether it's approved or not approved. If they want to advertise, maybe to get feedback or understanding that, hey, yeah, we don't have enough response from the car club that, so I don't want to have this event. But if they put it out there to say, you know, I'm just trying to understand if.
I think the issue, I'm sorry, I don't want to go.
Yeah, if there's any recourse of them advertising before we approve something.
I think
like-
the issue is that councils in the past have felt pressure to approve something that had been previously advertised, and people have spent money to advertise and to get, you know, vendors or whatnot at the site, and then they come before the council, oh, I've already spent X amount of dollars to do this, and therefore, if you don't approve this, I'm gonna lose all this money. So the risk is, so that was one of the policy issues but, you know, it's a risk that they take, but obviously the council felt it was unfair, and they have approved other events that were advertised before the approval, but, I mean, technically, you know, from a legal perspective, there's nothing we can do preventing from advertising, but I think it was the issue of that.
So it's more like the pressure on the council making the decision.
Correct.
And sometimes those
Did
can,
we don't have a policy on that?
Well, I mean, you know, again, you're not supposed to have an event until it's approved by the council.
Right.
So that's just the law. So if you want to take the risk of advertising it, I guess you do so at your own risk. But the problem is that a lot of pressure has been put on this council, or previous councils in the past, saying, hey, I've already, you know, I've advertised this, I've already got 60 people signed up, and I've got vendors coming, and if you cancel it now, I'm going to lose X amount of dollars. And it kind of puts the council in a very difficult position.
and sometimes with very little advance notice. Now, I appreciate two things. One, that this is 2 months out, pretty much. And two, that you were asked to stop the advertisement, and you did. So I appreciate that.
All right, any further questions from the council? Councilor Perry?
I make a motion to approve Mass Wagens' second annual car show on Sunday, July 20th, 2025, from 11 to 4 at 300 Industrial Park. Subject to all zoning requirements.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? I just have one. So I think the solicitor is correct there. It's essentially if the applicant wants to take the risk, then it's the risk is on the applicant if they want to start advertising beforehand. But you know, I think it's no different. You know, whether this gentleman wants to advertise starting 3 months ago to drum up support and build for the event versus, you know, the Courtney Roderick Memorial Run saying, okay, we'll be back again next year, a year in advance, when they come before the council, you know, 2 months beforehand. So,
I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Correct.
Yeah, like,
so,
I mean, I don't have an issue with somebody advertising. I mean, the risk is on them.
yep.
It's great. All right.
All right. So, without any further discussion, all those in favor? None opposed. Congratulations. Good luck. All right, next up is Kevin and Brenda McGovern. Request a special event license for wedding reception on Saturday, August 16th, 2025, from 5 to 11 at 1520 Crandall Road. Welcome. Seems pretty straightforward. Someone
This is
married.
my daughter, it's not my wife.
Yeah, mom and dad have opened their home to family and friends, so wanting to do it the right way.
Early congratulations to you. Any questions from the council? All right, with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the special event license for the wedding reception Saturday, August 16th from 5 to 11, 1520 Crandall Road, subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
I just want to let you know that by putting it in the paper, you just advertised. I didn't want it advertised, but you guys made it.
Now, look at all the people.
What was that
you have
address again?
attend.
Yeah, you all get invitations and
Good luck.
Thank
All right.
Have fun.
Next item is Ester Joel Bishop, DBA Gnarly Vines Farm. Request approval of victualling license for farm store at 241 Cornell Road. Hours of operation Thursday to Sunday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Do you have any questions on this application from the council?
I need to make a correction.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not at 241 Cornell Road, it's at 2490
Main Road.
Yeah, right next to.
But your business is where, that's where the corporation is.
Correct,
So,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
And then also the hours, we don't know exactly what the hours are, but I think the ice cream place stays open until 9 o'clock on at least Saturday. We wanted to stay within the same time as them.
Makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Is that acceptable to the clerk?
It's pretty interesting stuff.
Okay.
Oh, and then also on the farm store, it's grab and go food. We're gonna do some cooked food as well, like not really, like not a sit down restaurant, but you know, we'll be cooking some food as well.
You guys have a food truck too, right? So
Yeah.
it's easy. And if there's anything that is needed in addition, I'm sure the clerk would be happy to work with you guys on that. Okay. Any other questions from the council?
Great business.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right. With that, Counselor.
I make a motion
Okay, by all
to
means.
approve the victualling license for the farm store. It is 2401,
2490.
2490 Main Road, with the business address of 241 Cornell. Hours of operation as stated, subject to all legal requirements.
Second. Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Congratulations. Look forward to you guys opening.
Thank
All
you.
right, great, thanks. Okay, big opening, probably June 14th, I think?
All right.
Right, we're going for it. Yeah, we're going for it.
Excellent.
I heard you guys were already painting in there and everything, so.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll bring some food next time.
All right, next up is public hearings. We have an approval, a public hearing to approve the petition to abandon Transport Drive. Since this is a public hearing, would any members of the public like to speak? Mr. Solicitor.
So this is part of the purchase and sale agreement on the sale of the parcel to Street Legal LLC. Part of that purchase and sale required us to approve what was essentially a paper street, which means it was plotted on the land evidence records, but it was never actually developed. So proper notice has been given for 3 successive weeks in the paper of general circulation. The lots there are listed, and again, this is a public hearing. Of course, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but the town is the abutter of all the other land of the property, so I did not expect anybody to oppose this, but I just wanted to, we have to have this public hearing.
Okay. So with that, I'd like to open the public hearing. Would any members of the public like to speak on this topic? Any members of the public? Third time, any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to close the public hearing. There's not many people here for those watching at home. And with that, I'd like to entertain a motion from the council to approve the abandonment of Transport Drive.
I set forth in resolution 2025-0022, please.
Okay, do we have that motion?
So moved.
Motion is
Second.
made, seconded. Any further discussion from the council? Hearing none, all in favor? None opposed. All right. Next item, Tiverton Police Department Recreation Commission, discussion and possible vote to approve new location for Child Safety and Wellness Day event previously approved for Grinnell's Beach and surrounding areas on Saturday, June 28th, 2025, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a rain date of Saturday, June 29th, 2025. All right, we are having this for a vote because it was approved by the prior council to do at Grinnell's. And sounds like we'd like to make a change. Take it away.
So we had agreed back in November, it was approved to have 7th safety day event that we've been putting on since 2018 at Grinnell's. So I'm propose that we do a location change, and also there is a date change back in November. We did not have my daughter scheduled for her dance recital, and just so happens that it's on Saturday, June 28th, so I cannot be in 2 places at once, so I'm going to ask that we can change the date to June 29th, which is the Sunday, just the very next day. And also looking to change the location from Grinnell's to Longplex, which we did back in 2021. It was actually one of our most successful years that we had. There's a lot of reasoning behind that. I know Grinnell's is a great spot, but logistically, it's kind of a nightmare. There's no parking. We have to shut down a portion of the main road like we do with the Tiverton Celebrates fireworks, which, it being a safety day, kind of poses a risk for parents that are, marching their young children to the beach, from various locations due to the parking. Along with that, I've also, been in discussion with Jim, and there's a lot of things that he has access to that I just don't, so that's also a benefit for the event, so.
The only piece I would add is, so recreation was involved in part, mostly because of the Grinnell's location. I think I would echo everything that was just said, but the other piece I would add is that if the weather kicks up and there's a strong breeze, it's actually a pretty difficult place to use the full footprint of Grinnell's effectively. Thankfully, the events we've held there, we've been very fortunate, but I know during that event last year, it was an issue, and it forced some of the vendors to move into other places. So from a recreation standpoint, we have no objection to moving it. This is really a Tiverton Police Dept.
Wonderful. Any questions from the council?
Lieutenant, do you have a rain date, or is that?
We're just gonna go with 29th, yeah, and it's basically from 11 to 2, or, no, 11 to 3, I'm sorry. With setup being approximately 9 a.m. I don't know, yeah. You're coming up,
You changed it from 10 to 5?
It's, the event itself is from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're gonna start like setup and stuff like probably 9 a.m.
Okay, I'll just go down the line. I saw Councilor Roy's hand up, so.
No,
Councilor Camino's all done.
Yeah, there was a typo.
Okay.
It's a Saturday and Saturday.
It's a Sunday, correct?
It's
Sunday,
29th, it's a Sunday.
And your tear down will be done by 5?
Yes, absolutely.
Councilor
Hopefully by 3:30. Usually because we do raffle baskets, so once we call those names, typically and then.
Yeah, I only asked because I wanted to add an hour at the front, that's why.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm 4, I guess.
9 to 3. So I do have some concerns, because when we did have it at Longplex, there were events going on, so will there be events going on in the Longplex at that time?
From the discussion that I have with Jim, there will not be.
Because that's what caused a lot of parking issues
Mhm.
there at the time. Will there be food available?
Yes.
Food trucks?
Well, there'll be, basically Jim's gonna take care of the food. The food trucks, that falls on me to get food trucks, so it's a lot easier for me if food's right there on scene, so.
So it is a profitable, money-making event for Longplex to have it there?
For the food
For the food.
Yes, food, yes. Everything else will be free.
Questions?
And just my last thing, I do have a concern, because we do have to hold it there when we have a counselor who has a no trespassing order against that person to attend there. So I think it's a difficult place to have a town event when we have a counselor who cannot attend.
I mean, I can understand that, but I'm working for the police department. I'm trying to put on a safety day for the town of Tiverton. So the personal conflicts between a town council member and somebody that, has a business in town has nothing to do with me, and I don't interject or involve myself in those things. So this is strictly for the town. Whether or not it's at a location that somebody has issues with, somebody else I have nothing to do with that.
Councilor Paul, Councilor Perry.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Lieutenant, just to kind of reiterate what Councilor Janik was saying. I know Mr. Long is in the crowd tonight, and he's shaking his head in the affirmative, just like we did the last time, and it was a very successful event when I was the police chief and we did it there the last time. There'll be no alcohol served except for the restaurant.
Yeah, there should be no alcohol served.
Just for the record, Mr. Long is shaking his head in the affirmative. Thank you.
It's directed to children, so
And I know that was the arrangement that we had the last time. And then as far as the parking issue, I know there is no parking in the industrial park. I'll have to look at the ordinance, but I believe the police chief has the ability to temporarily suspend it during special events. So what I would recommend is that you speak with the chief, and I'll speak with the chief as well. So this way we limit parking to one side in the industrial park, and then we post it similar to what we did for Tiverton Celebrates. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Councilor Paul, Councilor Perry, any comments?
Make a motion.
All right, Councilor Paul.
Motion to approve the location change for the Child Safety and Wellness Day event Formally for Grinnell's, now to Longplex, 11 to 3, Sunday, June 29th, 2025.
With a setup at 9 a.m. and breakdown by 5 p.m.
Sounds good.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? All right. Good luck.
Before he departs, could I just make a quick comment?
Yes, sir.
I didn't want to do it during public comment, but I just wanted to extend a thank you to Mr. Duke here and the entire police department, as well as the DPW and the fire department, as well as Councilors Paul and Inderos, who were part of the block party and fireworks this past week. We could not have done it without them, and the support from especially this gentleman and the DPW and the fire department were outstanding. I don't think people realize how much work they do and how often it goes unrecognized. So I want to take an opportunity while you're stuck sitting here for a second just to say thank you.
Thank you.
Well, shout out to you as well, Steve.
Well, and our committee is really good, and a lot of them volunteered. I don't want to speak for them on the parade side, because the parade was fantastic. I wasn't as involved with that, but they did an amazing job there too.
It was a great day.
Yeah, all the way around. Thank God we were able to.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations. Thank you. Mr. Dilflin, please go nowhere. Next item on the agenda, Tiverton Recreation Commission discussion and possible vote to purchase refurbished Surf Rake 600 HD for $53,800. Mr. Gilford. And I know Councilor Paul will probably want to speak on this as well.
So in your packet, you have some information about the particular beach rake. This is a refurbished model. The normal models usually go a lot higher than that. But the premise and the reason we looked at this and we started looking a couple of years ago is that one of the most common complaints we get, especially at Fogland, is that it's an incredibly rocky beach. We spoke with the folks at Little Compton. We actually, Councilor Paul and I both reached out to this company in particular independently. And what we found, and they came up and did a demo. I unfortunately was not there, but there were several others that were. It works really, really well. It cleans the beach. There's a lot of other applications for it in recreational facilities, including with thatching on infields. And my understanding, it can also do some edging on some of the fields. So it's a multitasker. There's an opportunity for us to be able to kind of check off a couple of boxes for what we need. As to the funding, what I will speak to is that there is money within the Stonebridge account that's left over, and I spoke to Trish Hilton. I believe it's about $30,000. I don't know the exact number in front of me at the moment. But our thought here is that this is something that would be a game changer for our community and would enhance the experience for residents in a lot of different ways.
Okay. Questions from the council?
So where would the rest of the funding come from?
This was something you and I discussed, and you had a suggestion on that.
Mr. Administrator.
There are funds available, and I know we normally pull from gaming revenue. My recommendation would be to the council would be the capital fund, the town's capital fund. I've spoken with the treasurer about, and there is available funds in the capital account to cover this purchase.
Any further questions?
Along with the money, the funds from the Stonebridge, what was that, the abutment? You said
When they
Stonebridge.
redid
Right.
that area, yes.
So our side would be like a short one, 20.
Correct.
Yeah.
So who's gonna operate and be responsible for operation of this? Would that be Highway Department?
I think the intent would be for DPW to run it. I mean, it's not, based on size-wise, it can fit behind the back of a tractor. It's not super large.
So I guess we're gonna get those other people hired for the Highway Department, and hopefully, at some point, I understand our tractors, our big tractor is down, not operational.
No, the blue tractor is operating, however, the blue tractor cannot pull this. We're gonna be looking at a tractor down the road, like sometime in the near future.
We don't have anything to pull this now?
I don't believe that's correct, right? The blue tractor will not pull it?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'd have to check
And
with
what's the reason for that, do we know? Is it four-wheel drive, two-wheel drive?
I couldn't tell you, I was told it will not be able to pull that. I don't know.
This is the first meeting that the DPW director has not been present for. And of course, we could use his technical expertise.
But
I think it's a great idea for the town, I think it's something that we need. Yeah, we need a four-wheel drive vehicle to pull it. That's where I was going with it. So, I mean, is this like a one-time vehicle that's just been, is it only like this?
One opportunity.
Is this a one opportunity?
I can't speak to when another one would come up. What I can say is that the representative we spoke to has had this one on hold for us for about a month.
Okay.
Just because we needed to have it discussed, obviously. I don't think it's the only time one would come up. I don't know what the other ones would be like and if it would be this particular month. So, you know, we're looking at like a $20,000 savings in this particular case.
Right.
I mean, my recommendation would be if it's something that the council feels has merit, it would be worth looking at getting and then seeking out funds either independently or within our budget to cover the tractor for it separately. But
We still have gaming coming up too.
Yeah. Counselor?
Do we have, and I'm kind of looking down at town administrator, do we have in some of those grants or anything at the DPW level, any of the vehicles?
So there is a grant that we've applied for $800,000 for DPW vehicles. But given that's a congressional earmark, we probably wouldn't see anything with that till 2026.
Okay.
But is it something that if the council agrees to make this purchase, I'll work with the DPW director, even if we had to, I would imagine we're not going to be raking the beaches every day. It would probably be something that maybe a couple times during the season. I'm sure that we could either rent or get a tractor to pull this, just so we can try it for the season. Hopefully by the time the next season rolls around, we can have an answer on that grant that would more than pay for what we would need.
Because I heard it was great. I was not there when they trialed it, but they said it did a phenomenal job. I just don't want to spend the money and have it sit at DPW.
agreed.
Not being used.
Agreed, and I will offer that when this came forward, I think we were all under the perception that the tractor that we had available would work for this purpose. What I think we could also look at is, because it's not just a single-use piece of equipment and it can be used for fields, I do think it's something we can take a look at relative to the leagues and entities we work with, and even if it's a short-term gap here as we need to rent it, talking to them about, look, we're going to enhance the playing fields that you have. Is there something you can do to help us? I don't want to commit them to that, but I don't think it's out of the realm of fairness to ask.
Okay. Further discussion from the council? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the purchase of the refurbished Surf Rake 600 HD for $53,800 with $30,000 coming from the Stonebridge account and $23,800 coming from capital funds.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? I have one more piece that I would like to add. So, in my opinion, I think this is great, not just for all the reasons that Mr. Gilfillan stated, but also because I know there are a number of residents who, at Grinnell's in particular, spend an enormous amount of time walking the beaches, picking up garbage, and if we can give some of that time, back to those residents, I think it would be greatly appreciated. So, that, all in favor? None opposed.
Anybody wants rocks when we're done?
All right.
Next.
Next item, Tiverton Recreation Commission discussion and possible vote to purchase replacement plaque for the Bulgarmarsh Recreation Area not to exceed $1,300. Mr. Gilfillan.
So this I would call a righting or wrong kind of situation. Anybody who's seen it, Bulgarmarsh, there's a stone obelisk that has 4 holes and nothing on it. And that was originally home to a plaque that indicated the donation of Arthur Hahn and his wife, Eva, of Bulgarmarsh for the recreational area that we have, and somebody had decided that they preferred to, I would assume, steal it for metal. And so I ended up during a summer concert series speaking to his daughter and talking about the background to it, and we started the dialogue. And one of the things that I committed to her is that I think it's important for us to recognize the people that laid the foundation for Tiverton. It's $1,300 to get a plaque in there. We looked at a couple different places, and that's pretty much not to exceed $1,300. There is money within the recreation budget, but I would tell you it would be something where we would have to probably reallocate it from our supplies, which we're sort of going to use for things like uniforms. But if there, again, this is a situation where I would appreciate, I think the family would, being able to rededicate the plaque in this case. And by the way, the plaque is going to be glued down so hard that you're going to be able to push that off.
All right,
That's true.
Council Burke.
So, our agenda says 13.
It's on the second page. It's 966 is the quote.
So the back page says.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's
1432.
1278.59 is,
Okay.
I'm gonna guess that's the one that you're looking at.
So what is the back page then?
One of the quotes.
There are three quotes
That's
on
just
here.
a quote, okay.
Yeah, I just want to give you different reference points. So 966, 1278, and then 1432. So what I looked at is the middle quote was 1278 right on there. Again, not knowing the quality of the one that was 966, giving a little bit of leeway, we may end up going with that one. It could be less than 1,000.
So, motion.
Yes.
Move approval, purchase a replacement plaque for the Bulgarmarsh Recreation Area not to exceed $1,300 with the money coming from your supplies account unless you come back to us and say you need that for other purposes.
You're saying you can't now, though.
Well, we're in the middle of figuring out where we're at. So I think what you're saying is have the specific number and then come back on it.
If you can afford it out of your current account, but yeah, if you can't, I mean, we can make the motion to otherwise have it taken from our account.
I think he said he can't.
So if I would,
I can't already.
if I would just add, I mean, as we approach the end of the fiscal, we're gonna be doing a slow
Right.
budget transfer,
Right.
so if for some reason the 1,300 means that we can't buy uniforms for, certain kids, I'm sure the administrator would come back and, recommend that we shift from an account that was significantly over as we close out the fiscal, so.
So run it through recreation and then if
We'll
need be.
make it all.
Yeah, and if there's budget transfers, I mean, you see it on every one of our agendas, right, on the consent agenda. We had one tonight for transfers, $5,000 from the fire chief from one line item to the next item, so it's something that, I don't think we should necessarily handcuff them, but give them the
Yeah,
option.
no, that's what I was trying to make it.
That makes sense.
All right, so motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Councilor Perry, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you, Mr. Gilmore.
D is already done. Consent.
Yep, D was done during
I do
consent.
apologize.
No worries.
No.
We moved it and then deleted it.
All good. I think now's an appropriate time. Or should I do that?
Well, which way to get to the general stuff?
Okay. All right, next up, Administrator Jones, discussion and possible vote to authorize limited engagement with Partridge, Snow and Hahn LLP to assist with legal services associated with the negotiation of renewable energy lease agreement for former town landfill. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I've been working with the solicitor and
It was a consent agenda.
also with
I
a
didn't realize.
certain firm has shown interest in the landfill to potentially put a solar farm or solar array there. I know this is common uses for the landfill in other communities. Coventry, Cranston have also done it. In speaking with the solicitor, this is a particular type of legal arrangement and lease that the town would get involved with. We want to make sure that the town is getting the best bang for its buck when it comes to this. So with consultation with the solicitor has recommended a law firm who has an attorney who specializes in these type of leases. So I'm asking permission from the council that we have an authorized limited engagement for this attorney to assist us in developing a lease or any contractual agreements for any bid specs or any future contracts with the bid that we so award to the company that's going to install solar arrays in the future.
Mr. President, I might add,
Yes.
I have used this law firm in the past for work we've done in East Providence. Mr. Capizio also represented at one point the Diocese of Providence, where they have a lot of solar arrays. The complicated thing that gets it, that I don't understand and don't have the experience in is that this not only be a ground lease, whatever's negotiated, but he also has connections when they look at, when they bid the kilowatt hour and the reimbursement rates, which is a specialty which I am not cognizant of. So he has a lot of different vendors and other consultants that he has as part of his team to make sure that if we do go out to bid or if we don't go out to bid, and that's another thing we'll have to be looking at, whether or not we're getting the best deal.
Do we have any questions from the council?
So, do we just do
Counsel.
like a retainer, or is it, we just?
It's an hourly fee.
Open.
That's all, it's up to you. If we want to say not to exceed, that's up to you guys.
Any estimate as to how many, I know it's hard.
It's hard, it depends how complicated it gets, but I mean, it's generally, sometimes $15,000 maybe around.
Right.
depending what they throw at us as far as that lease or whatever. We're already getting a little bit of pushback because we were told by one of the vendors that it was a sole source, and after talking with our engineers, they said that's not necessarily true, because the warranty on that liner is probably going to be expiring anyway, so you don't have to worry about it. And then, again, that's something that I would not have known about, and I haven't had consulted with.
So in that instance, like I
If you
said,
want to put a cap on it, that's up to you.
right, I would suggest we start off, you said approximately 15,000, let's give a buffer of 20.
I mean, this is something that we want to pursue.
I mean, after
I mean,
discussion
before-
with
right,
the
that's a good question.
administrator and the solicitor, I think it's something that would ultimately wind up in the town getting a significantly better deal than what the sole source vendor has put in front of us.
Okay, but so what is the revenue? What is, like, is there
So
an idea?
just to kind of give you an
of-
idea, sir,
Yes.
it's, landfills in Rhode Island and in this area are highly lucrative because you're limited as, obviously, to what you can put on top of them, which is what Coventry did and what Cranston did. So we were approached by one vendor who wanted to, they were interested very aggressively coming at us because they wanted the land. And like the solicitor said, it's based on the size of the landfill, and they can estimate it through topographical maps, how many solar arrays they can put there. So with that, they can estimate how many gigawatts are coming out of there. And with that, that is when they sell it back to Rhode Island Energy, and then they would lease the land from us. So conservative estimates, and again, don't hold me to it, was about $100,000 a year to the town. So in speaking with our engineers, they said that before we lock into any single deal, we should put it out to bid, have a contract, because part of the contract, there are also connection fees that would be borne by the town, that our engineers and even the attorney who we want to engage with is telling us for free, don't sign that. That, all those expenses should be on the developer and on the vendor.
Contract.
Which is one of another example of why we need someone with a certain expertise in this before we sign an agreement.
And the second part is, what is the, I mean, $100,000, good chunk of change, but the second part is, what is the liability from somebody to the town as far as the dump, the cap being wrecked, or
That
the
would
testing?
all be part of the lease agreement or any agreement that we formulate with them. We're gonna be, as you know, sir, we're gonna be testing that landfill forever.
Right.
So, but and that was, as the solicitor was saying, the vendor who is claiming to be sole source has currently the warranty on the membrane that exists. So they would know what could be put on top of this. So, but what our engineers are saying is, it's an industry standard membrane, and we should not lock ourselves in to one vendor, because we'd be shortchanging ourselves, because this is a highly lucrative opportunity for the town.
Very good. Thank you.
Any further questions from the council? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to authorize the administrator to enter a limited engagement with Partridge, and Hahn LLP to assist with legal services associated with negotiation of renewable energy lease agreement for former town landfill in an initial dollar amount not to exceed $20,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Mr. Administrator, update on the school department forensic audit. with
Thank you.
MARCUM.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know Mr. Andrade is in the crowd tonight as well regarding this. As most of you know, this, the audit was started by the last town administrator with the school department. It met a certain level of threshold. I do not believe that audit was finalized. So what I'd be asking as far as an update, that I already have meetings scheduled with MARCUM. What I'd like to do is, before we make any further expenses regarding the audit, that we get a final copy of the audit for your review, so we can make it public, and so then the council can decide on what further action, if any, it wishes to take. I know that the administrator, along with the prior administrator, along with the superintendent, and this was prior to Mr. Andrade's employment, were engaged in that, and given that I have not seen a final copy, and I'm not sure if the council has, I know that there were drafts and presentations, but I think we're at the point now that we've already spent approximately $50,000 on this audit. So I think we're at a point that whatever has been done for the $50,000 needs to be put in front of you, so we can look at the results of the audit, make it public, and then decide what further action, if any, the council wishes to take.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Any further questions from the council? I'm sure we'll be back on this agenda item in a future meeting. Next up, Mr. Administrator, discussion and possible vote to schedule a public hearing to abandon Communication Drive and Enterprise Way and approve funding to advertise public hearing. This is part of the
No different than the
purchase
abandonment
and sales?
of Transport Drive, correct?
Motion to approve scheduling and advertising the public hearing for Communication Drive and Enterprise Way to be abandoned and approve funding for that public hearing, for advertising that public hearing.
Second.
Motion's made, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, Mr. Administrator and Mr. Solicitor, resolution to authorize the town administrator to take all necessary action subject to meeting all requirements in the purchase and sale agreement to close on the property in Industrial Park with LP Properties for Assessors Plat 107, lots 750, 751, and 752 for use as a hotel.
So, Mr. President, members of the council, as you know, the council had previously authorized the execution of a purchase and sale agreement. Part of that purchase and sale agreement had a condition of which that they were to get final master plan approval before the planning board before they would be able to close. That was a condition that the buyer wanted. The buyer is now interested in closing on this property without that master plan approval. The buyer does so at their own risk. So this is just would just allow us to close on these lots and sell the property.
Okay. With that, I'd be looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2025-0021 as written.
Excuse me, and a hotel is already an authorized use in that industrial park, so there's no zone change necessary.
I will make the motion to authorize the town administrator to take all necessary action, subject to meeting all the requirements in the purchase and sale to close on property in the industrial park with LP Properties. Assessor's plat is just like it's written, Joe, 107, lots 750, 751, 752, for use as a hotel.
You should amend that to town solicitor and or town administrator. That's what the resolution says.
Yep.
You got it, so amended. Thank you. Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. All right, next up, same sort of thing, different property.
So this is the second resolution. This was also part of the original purchase and sale agreement. Again, there was provision in the purchase and sale that the closing would not occur until master plan approval was obtained by the planning board and zone changes. The Iceplex would require a zone change. The buyer is willing to waive those requirements at his or her risk. This closing would not happen until the advertising that we just approved happened with the abandonment of those two roads, but this gets the process moving. Once those roads are abandoned and after the advertisement, we'd be able to close on the property without those conditions that were previously proposed.
Okay. So with that, looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2025-0023 to authorize the administrator and or solicitor to take all necessary actions to close on said listed parcels. I'm ready to make that motion. If not,
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, I'm actually going to stick something in here if that's all right. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda under Rhode Island General Law 4246-6B to amend the agenda for the purpose of discussions related to the school capital requirements. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion remains seconded.
Request, I think it's a school capital request.
School capital request. All right. Counselor, all in favor?
Discussion only, by the way.
Yes, discussion only. Opposed?
My question is, why is this necessary tonight?
So I'm happy to address that as soon as we get to it.
I'm opposed.
It's discussion.
I'm not gonna add something
Discussion only.
if I don't know.
Okay. Good, okay, so With that, this is for discussion only on the school capital requests. The reason why this is why I asked to put this on is because of an oversight vote by myself, Counselor Paul, the solicitor, I love the clerk in there, and the administrator. This was supposed to be on the agenda for discussion this evening, given the timelines and the budgets. And so I thought it would be helpful for us to at least have a open discussion related to the school's capital requests that they've made, which Mr. Andrade is here as a resource if we need to ask any questions, to at least build some consensus, because I think ultimately the schools are gonna have to make some decisions very quickly about additional layoffs if those capital requests are not approved. Did I say that correctly, Mr. Andrade?
I don't have the request in front of me.
And the total, this was at our last meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was what, well, I don't know if you want
I
to
know
come
what
up
the
and
figures,
just give
I
us
mean, I know the figures, it's
Yeah.
just,
It was 312,000.
And like $612 on top of that or something? What was the exact number?
312,605.
Okay. So, I know Counselor Burkett had some concerns around,
There were items on there that I did not think should continue as capital requests. I don't have this in front of me because obviously we weren't prepared for it, so I can't speak to those specific items. There are some that I think are appropriate. I'm also concerned when we go outside of the cycle that we have for using gaming funds, and I think the committee, not on you, made an assumption that they just get the gaming funds no matter what.
I agree with that. I think the school needs to, myself, we need to get to a better place in the future. However, given the layoffs, as you guys know, we're laying off 23 FTEs, so anything less than this 312 is gonna be more layoffs, and that's a small district, that's tough, as you know, so. You know, there are some things there that occur year over year, but as you know, laptops, for instance, are being given to new students, so they are being purchased every year,
Laptops are
just
one
for
thing.
example, yeah.
But I think
yeah.
that's a good example of a
Yeah,
capital
yeah.
expense.
Correct,
Plan for it.
yeah.
But there are, there are software programs and the like that are really operational expenses. They're textbooks that have traditionally been operational
Yep,
expenses.
yep, and you can see those, just as I said last meeting when we discussed it, is the ROI on some of those are for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So making the purchase this year, we wouldn't need anatomy books for another 3, 4, 5 years.
Do
whatever.
other districts put those in capital?
What is it?
Textbooks? How do other districts
Yes, they
handle
do.
textbooks?
Barrington and Little Compton do, just to use 2 examples. However, if you denied that request, then, yeah, we would just buy it for a year, and then here we are next year, you know what I mean, asking for the same purchase, because most of the stuff now is going to e-text, not an actual textbook anymore, so. Yeah, I think Craig's got the list, so.
There was that whole section,
Trying to find it.
Yeah.
I don't have that in
It's in
front of
the
me
back,
either,
right?
but there was a whole section that, you had said, if, we buy this year, we're not gonna see that again next year. And a number of them were, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing, $5,000 for 1 year, but if we buy 3 years, it's like 10,000 or
Exactly what I'm
12,000.
talking about, the ROI on some of these are very significant.
So,
And these are all, some of these are new requirements through RIDE as well. So it's not something, it's mandated really, some of these,
Life expectancy of a Chromebook.
Chromebook, 4 years. So that's why we only replace grade 4, grade 5, grade 9.
So the life expectancy of a Chromebook's 4 years, the life expectancy of a book
Yeah.
is 3 to 4 years.
Some of those, it's e-text. Some of those, we have to buy them.
I'm talking about the hard book
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, most of the stuff is it's going to e-text now.
John, can you explain to me?
I'll have to see the list, I'll tell you the difference.
I have a list in front of me.
Some of those,
Well,
yeah.
not the list.
can
Can
see
you
the
explain
description, what's e-text and what's
what,
the text.
or the definition, or how we consider something capital and not capital? Like, from my standpoint in the fire service, I'm buying a fire truck, it's capital. I'm buying,
Masks.
Scott mask, or,
Yep.
so some of this stuff, like, I don't understand how it falls into capital. Staff computers.
I would defer to the solicitor for
I mean, there's no magic definition, but the general definition is something that lasts, life expectancy is more than 1 year. And not something that's part of normal operating expenses of a department.
That's IRS tax
I
code.
also think towns budget differently. To that extent there, the town I worked in would budget annually for that type of equipment. And then when it was time to replace, the money was there. We don't budget annually and stick money aside for air packs, for example. We end up having a capital.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, and I think the answer was something that lasts more than a year or whatever,
Yeah.
to understand what.
Building,
Well, textbooks are 3 to 4 years. and
Yeah,
loans are
everything
3 to 4
there
years.
is, I think, off the top of my head, it's only 3 years.
So let me ask you a quick question as it relates to the time frame there, right? So something like Z-Space, Project Lead the Way, multi-year agreement, the ask was $54,510. That is upfront, the entire agreement paid for in full, very similar to what we did with the town website refurbishment, correct? Or is this another 54 grand next year?
So that's 54 on top of the agreement on the MPA of Rhode Island. So that would be for a good 2 years. That's the only one that's under the 3 years. Everything else is minimum 3 years or more.
John, can we find out what's on that list?
Absolutely, and I'm like happy to
I don't
So
know.
that's
make
what I
sure
was
that we
just
have it.
gonna
Again,
ask.
this is not for a vote this evening, it's
No,
just
right,
for a
so
discussion.
Just to understand, so there's kind of a top list for the 312, and then you have stuff that's excluded. Is that stuff still staying excluded, or did you?
I was just trying to give
another
you,
50,000?
I was trying to give you some other things that say you wanted to take Z-Space off. I would recommend putting those excluded items in. Those are all capital consider items that are in our operating budget. So we have more than 312 in our operating budget. So it's just to give you a review.
So there's nothing saying that because this is excluded, if we wanted to, I don't know,
Say you want to.
instrument repairs, if we wanted to have instrument repairs, we could add that onto the 312.
Correct. If you want to, Mr. Burke made a comment back on the May 5th meeting is harness for special education, that's in the excluded item. That could come up because that's harnesses we would have to buy every 3 years for special education. Or if one breaks, we have to buy it immediately. Yeah.
Let me ask you a follow-on question, because those items are the excluded items. Those are in the operating
They're
budget
in the
today.
operating budget, we're
So-
asked for capital.
So in theory, if, let's say, Councilor Comito were so inclined to include all the excluded items,
Mhm.
that's gonna essentially free up dollars inside of your existing budget.
Of 50,000.
Correct.
And I would assume, based on prior discussions, that the school's position would be to use that money, for instance, to shore up the current year budget deficit, as an example, if we were to pass the full budget and the 54,000 was done by capital.
But if you want to give, it's a pretty long list, I don't know if you want to read it out for Mr. Terry.
He can look at my copy if he wants to.
what's your deadline for the?
Can I see that
This
copy?
Friday. That's why
Okay, I need to stretch, I'm gonna get a cramp.
I brought to
No, this is what we had.
President's
This is current year.
attention when I saw the agenda.
And then unfortunately, we weren't able to
I
amend
know,
the agenda.
yeah, we tried.
So we can't vote on this
We cannot vote.
tonight.
It's mostly trying to give us thumbs up because we have to Friday to do any more layoffs after that.
But that's actually a vote.
I know.
There's
but
no
that's-
thumbs up, it's just
To me, it was supposed to be on tonight's agenda as
your
council
read,
president
it's just
said.
your read of this discussion.
Correct, yeah.
And
yeah.
make the decision
Yeah.
if
You
you're.
could have
gonna
a
vote.
special meeting on Friday if you needed it, if you needed a formal.
Not
vote.
here.
Well, we wouldn't because school committee would have to also. Yeah.
Well, you can post it.
Yeah, but
I know, I'm away and so is Denise, so.
Oh, where you guys going?
She's going somewhere
Oh, all
else.
right, just checking. I just asked.
So,
I'm going to Northampton. She's going to Maine.
All right, just asking.
oh, Councilor Perry has this, okay. All right, I was gonna read about it, but.
Try to read it for the public.
All right, so, for what was asked, it was the Chromebooks, for a total of $120,750. That's grades 1, 5, 9.
and that's all accessories as well, not just the Chromebooks.
Then you have, anatomy, AP bio, physiology, high school math, US history, E-text for TMS and THS. This is a total request of $47,501. Library materials, only $22.50, which is, I guess, books and curriculum for the library program.
Yeah, it's just renewing material.
Z-Space Project Lead the Way, which is a 3-year, multi-year contract of 2 years for $54,510. SHI, which is Google and Microsoft domain master price agreements for 3 years, all up front, $32,630. Pearson Online, which is the curriculum that allows us to count homeschool students as students in the district for $13,500. So we actually made, that's a huge number we get back in state aid off of that. AI Brisk, which is teacher and student AI school learning, 3 years, 10 grand, and then staff computer replacements, which is 24,000 for all 50 staff members.
So what, Mr. Solicitor, again, software upgrades or software would count as,
I mean, it depends how long they last. I think the, obviously, the program that runs the computer won't last more than a year. That's kind of in the gray area. I think I agree with Councilman Burke that usually software is not really considered a capital expense unless it's like an accounting program or something like that. This seems to be more of an educational type of issue, I think. Right?
Yeah, the really only sophomore program is the Google and Microsoft, which is the 3-year agreement. So that's.
But I believe the finance director indicated that the reason why he's asking it because you get a cheaper price if you get a 3-year contract over the 1 year.
right, I remember the conversation, I just didn't know, like, if.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing magical about this. I mean, you can decide if you want to make it capital or not, but I gave you the standard definition, but there's nothing that says you can't put an operating expense under, it's funded by capital. It's just, it can be bad policy because what you're doing is shifting.
Correct.
Normal business expenses to normal ordinary expenses to capital, where there should be a little bit of distinction, but there's nothing illegal to do it either way.
And that's
It's
why
more of a policy decision.
And I agree with, we want to get away from this, but we're in a tough budget cycle.
I would suggest that we look at the capital in the following fiscal year, so FY '27, that we would not be making these purchases from capital gaming.
I agree with that.
But given the fiscal position the schools are in, I think it might make sense for one more year. But any other discussion points on this from the council?
Apparently I can either confirm or deny whether I agree with you or not.
There you go.
You don't think they're gonna come back with more capital for next year?
Oh, I'm positive, but that'll be a separate request for the gaming.
Would be more capital.
I'm positive there'll be more. Well, we also, this council.
It won't be this capital, it'll be.
It would be, yeah,
something.
we would have more, but this is priority number one. This is priority number one, so you don't have to approve
We also, before we get to that point, like when we're doing the gaming meeting to allocate capital dollars, we'll need to review how much we've already spent, because a prior council did encumber or agree to a deal with RIDE to spend, I believe it was $6.1 million over
5 years.
over a 5-year period.
2 years.
So,
Of gambling, casino money? But I believe the last number we received was, we received 65%.
yeah, the question is, since that, agreement to spend the 6.1, whether or not we have spent 6.1 since that was done or not. And if not, there were the 5-year projects on the 5-year capital plan that RIDE approved, and in exchange for them participating in reimbursing, we would have to meet the local contributions. to
So
that.
part of that also was to come from reimbursements.
Yes.
Right.
So it's not all straight from capital.
We are quite a bit short. Dave, you'll remember, you're on that committee with me. Remember, it's a $12 million number. We have to spend 50% of that, so. I
And
think,
that
off the top of my head, I think we're between 3 and 4 million, because some of these requests are not in that 5-year plan. It has to be in the 5-year plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, if these Chromebooks were in the 5-year plan,
Correct.
this would count for reimbursement.
Tennis court, like you guys just approved the tennis courts, elementary petitions, those are in it.
Right.
So there is quite a few in it.
And that committee's kind of been on hiatus this year,
Yeah,
so.
we'll bring it back next year.
We talked
yeah,
about
with the
going
new
back in the
superintendent.
fall,
Yeah.
right? Because we will have to address those.
Absolutely.
So how do we address the issue of the policy of the capital expenditures if we're not agreeing? Like, does it have to be a charter change? Does it have to be a policy change?
It's not in the charter.
It's not, so, and
I
actually-
mean, if we're gonna, like, we keep going through this year after year after year, exactly what Dave's saying, like, so we can't keep kicking the can down. We have to address it and set a new policy, or
Well, I think we've been clear in the past
Right.
that with the gaming money, the capital requests come to the meeting where we're deciding on gaming money. And that's where we're trying to push all the capital through to avoid putting it in the tax rate.
Okay.
So from my perspective, that's where we need to stick. I hear you, the concerns, but I'm not, I just think we need to stick with that.
I would also add too, and I think this has been a unique year as it relates to capital overall, because we have a new, I'm sorry.
No, I will say something, but I want to.
So, we have a new administrator, and obviously we've basically been playing catch-up on previously allocated items, which, since they were allocated and unspent, have grown in cost due to inflation and various other external factors. So, I think this year is a unique year in that sense, and it's, the intent to follow what the original policy was of doing one single allocation meeting. Also, the uncertainty around whether or not we're getting the federal dollars to close the landfill, I think.
And that means it should be happening soon, correct?
Yes, as soon as we get to the new fiscal year.
Very good.
I would add to that we had to hold on to the opera money until we had a commitment from a grant, plus prior grants that have actually overtaken previously allocated gaming revenue. That was then offset by a grant, so.
Mr. Solicitor.
So to answer Councilman Burke's concerns, there is a policy that's already been set by ordinance. And it basically says that 30 days after the close of the fiscal year, you'll get a report from the treasurer, and then how much capital money you have to spend, because we got into a problem, and it was really because of COVID, that some of the money that we were expecting to get from the casino was not coming forward because the governor stopped that. So, and at that time, that money was allocated towards operating expenses of the town. So we were thinking, I think it was a $1.8 million shortfall at one point that we had to make up. Council Burke was shaking his head. I think he was there during those sweaty nights when the town administrator was sweating it out. Anyway,
Zoom, yes, I was there as well.
As a result of that, they passed an ordinance. The council passed an ordinance basically saying this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to wait to the end of the fiscal year. We're going to get a report from the treasurer, and then within so many days of the close of the fiscal year, the town council shall meet with the school committee, yourself, and other departments, and go through and make the allocation. So we've been doing it in violation of the ordinance. I don't say in violation because it's not technically, the reason why it was set up that way to prevent the kind of problems we're having now. But I agree with you generally to have, this was a unique year too because of some of the deficits that we were facing and some of the.
And not to mention, not only the deficits, but also the fact that because we were waiting for a grant.
The grant, that's right.
Which we didn't have, we didn't actually have a meeting to expend the prior year's capital. So that's essentially where we've been drawing from, but.
So there is a policy, I guess my question is, there is a policy in place?
So we're gonna deviate from that policy if we.
For this year, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
For the next fiscal year, but they still have money left that's gonna be spent. This is not gonna use up all your capital.
No, we have a significant amount of capital dollars, another $3 million that's gonna unlock once we get to that.
And Ryan reimburses everything that's already been approved.
Not to mention we could pull from the reimbursement account too.
Thank you. It's a section 2-107 if you're interested.
I am interested.
All right.
Question, let me ask one more question.
Yes, Council.
You might not know the answer to this. Do we know how much money is currently in your reimbursement account?
I don't, but I do know there's over 200,000 coming in September once we give all the paperwork in for what's already been approved.
And that, I believe, may already be being considered for the other projects in that 5-year plan, correct?
The school committee has no authority over the
I know,
reimbursement account. Yeah, so my last recollection was it was hovered around $700,000 that's in there now.
Could take at least a portion of this from that.
Yeah, plus this extra, it's over a little over 250.
Will there be a reimbursement on this?
No.
This stuff will not be.
No, not trying to go down the line items. No, these are all. One or two of them might have been if there's educational purposes, but textbooks wise, but little money.
Do you remember the list we put together? Remember the list we put together on the building fund?
They don't hold
That would be eligible for
Right.
reimbursement.
But not this. But no,
It's all the health, the safety.
So there is, let's see here, current allocation, remaining balance, it's $680,000. That's in Fund 660, which is the reimbursement account.
So we could easily, if we wanted to, fund all of that, including the extras. Not saying that I think all of it should be, but from that account.
Yeah.
We also have to keep in mind their
Deficit.
current 700 plus deficit.
Mhm.
That money's gonna come from somewhere.
Yep, there's, once they close out the fiscal year, we'll address that. All right. Any other discussion items from the council? Okay. Next up, this is under, thank you, this is under my name, but this is actually, I think from Councilor Perry as well. Would be scheduling a workshop to discuss the possibility of exploring a homestead exemption. Madam Clerk, you are the keeper of the dates. To be.
Madam President?
Yes.
Sorry. You said Madam Clerk. So.
It's 2025, I don't know. Whatever.
He identifies as a matter.
Is there a reason we can't do that at a regular meeting?
Great question. Do we want to stick it in the next meeting?
I can't imagine it's going to be a lengthy.
I mean, there's no rush because you're not gonna get it until you get legislation, and this budget's already done, so it can't be for this budget, it will be for next fiscal year. So, but, I mean, it's not a complicated discussion,
Right.
it's just whether you wanna do it and what the effect it would have.
I
Yep.
think that's a great idea. Discuss- We're not having a speaker come in though.
Probably
No,
like
so
Dave.
Dave Roberts would be the first
The
person,
assessor.
the assessor would be the best person to answer the questions as to how it would affect your current rate.
Will we be in the new council chambers for the next meeting?
I can either confirm what I've done.
All right, so let's, if it's all right with the council, let's tentatively put this on the next regular meeting.
Great idea.
Yep.
Okay.
Good. How full is that agenda though?
Right now, we don't have a lot.
Okay.
There's a lot of public
Hearings,
hearings at that meeting.
Yeah.
Zoning
Oh, yeah, that's true.
is a lot.
Actually, put it in the second
So
meeting in
put it on
July,
the
the
next
second
one.
meeting, second meeting in June?
Second meeting in June is the 23rd, and you have to have a meeting on the 30th
Oh, for the budget.
for the budget. So,
No, you won't. Not allowed. That trip's canceled. Okay, so we'll target the second meeting in June. All right, now, since that concludes general business, I would like to make a motion to go into executive session under Rhode Island General Law 4246 5A5. Any discussion related to the sale of public property where in advance public information would be detrimental to the interest of the public. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Councilor Comito.
Yes.
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 All right, we're now in closed executive session.